If you've got a cat, you know the scene. You see him about to scratch the couch, maybe chewing on a cord, or just getting ready to knock that glass right off the counter. You call out their name, you give a stern no, and you're met with what? Nothing? Maybe a little ear twitch, a slow blink if you're lucky. It really feels like they're just ignoring you. But are they? Or do they genuinely not get it? Well, today, we're going to dive into the science of what our cats actually hear when we talk.
You know, this quote from a Reddit user just nails the feeling, doesn't it? It's the central mystery for cat owners everywhere. But is it just a funny joke, or is there some real science to back that up? Let's find out.
All right, so before we can even begin to tackle a big concept like no, we have to ask a much more basic question. Can a cat even learn a single word, like its own name? For a long, long time, the answer was basically a shrug. But recently, science gave us a much clearer answer. So back in 2019, this incredible study came out in the journal Scientific Reports. It was led by a cognitive biologist named Atsuko Saito, and she had a hunch. She figured that cats had to be understanding some of what we say, and she came up with a pretty brilliant way to prove it.
So how'd they do it? Well, they used this classic psychological trick. Let's say you have a cat named Mochi. The scientist would play a recording of 4 random words that kind of sound like his name. Toki, Sochi, Roki. And with each word, Mochi would get less and less interested. He's tuning it out, right? It's just background noise. That's called habituation. But then, that 5th word they'd play would be mochi. And that's when things got interesting.
And the results were so cat-like. It wasn't some big, dramatic, yes, you called, reaction. Nope. Across 78 different cats, the response was usually just a little turn of the head, or, thanks to the 32 muscles they have in each ear, just a tiny, subtle twitch. But it was consistent, it was measurable, and it proved for sure that they can pick their name out of a crowd of similar-sounding words, even when a total stranger says it.
But here is the absolute kicker. This is the most important part. While almost all the cats recognized their name, fewer than 10% of them actually got up and moved toward the person who called them. And that right there, that's the crucial difference between recognition and compliance. They hear you, they know you're talking to them, but whether they decide to do anything about it, well, that's a whole different story.
So, okay, we've established they can learn at least one word, which, of course, opens up a massive question. What else are they picking up from all our chatter around the house?
Here's the key to the whole thing. Cats aren't processing language like you and me, with grammar and abstract ideas. They are absolute masters of something called associative concept training. Basically, they're brilliant pattern recognizers. If a specific sound consistently predicts a specific outcome, especially a good one, they will file that connection away. They learn that this sound means that thing is about to happen.
And using this skill, they build up a pretty impressive little vocabulary. Of course, they learn their own name. But follow-up studies have shown they also learn the names of other pets in the house and even the humans. They absolutely learn words connected to food, like treat or dinner. They learn words that mean playtime is coming, like toy or bird. And yeah, they can even learn spatial words like off or down. Why? Because all of these words are charged with meaning. They predict something important is about to happen.
And why do they listen like this? Well, it all goes back to their evolution. Cats come from solitary hunters. They're not pack animals like dogs. They never needed a complex language to coordinate. In fact, that meow your cat uses, it's a sound they pretty much developed exclusively to talk to us. Their entire history has wired them to listen to any sound and ask one simple question: what's in it for me? They're listening, but they're listening for what benefits them.
Which brings us smack into the no paradox. If cats are so incredibly good at learning words that lead to awesome things like food and laser pointers, why is the word no, a word designed to stop bad things, so useless?
Okay, let's really put ourselves in their paws for a second. You shout no at the exact moment your cat lands gracefully on the kitchen counter. What association is actually being formed inside that little feline brain? The answer is probably not what you think.
So the act of yelling no, or using one of those dreaded spray bottles, that's a training technique called positive punishment. Now, positive here doesn't mean good. In behavioral science, it just means you're adding something to the situation. In this case, you're adding an unpleasant sound or a spray of water to try and stop a behavior. And here is the fatal flaw with that method. Because the punishment, your angry voice, the spray bottle, is coming directly from you, the cat doesn't learn jumping on the counter is a bad experience. No, it learns jumping on the counter when my human is here is a bad experience. The counter isn't the scary thing. You are. You're not teaching them to avoid the action, you're just teaching them to be afraid of you. And it just makes them sneakier.
And this is the punchline every single cat owner knows by heart. You haven't actually stopped the behavior. You've just successfully trained your cat to wait until you're not looking. The no didn't solve the problem. It just made the problem invisible to you, all while damaging the trust between you two.
So if we're supposed to just throw the word no out the window, what's left? How are we supposed to communicate what we want? Well, the answer is to stop thinking like a commander and start thinking more like a clever negotiator. Your goal isn't obedience. Honestly, that's a dog owner's mindset, and it just doesn't map onto a cat's evolutionary software. Instead, the goal is to make the right choice the easiest and most rewarding choice for your cat.
So what does this actually look like day to day? It's all about rewarding a yes instead of punishing a no. Are they scratching the couch? Don't yell. Just calmly pick them up, put them by their scratching post, and shower them with praise when they use it. Make the things they are allowed on, like a cat tree, way more awesome than the kitchen counter by putting it near a sunny window. And instead of shouting, "Get down!" train them to come to you for a high-value treat. It's all about making the good behavior the obvious, rewarding path.
I just love this quote because when you think about it, it's kind of true. Unlike dogs, which we bred for specific jobs and for obedience, cats pretty much domesticated themselves. They decided to hang out with us because we offered a good deal, shelter and food in exchange for keeping mice away. They signed up for a partnership, not a dictatorship.
So let's end on this idea. Your cat doesn't really understand no, because, from its very logical point of view, it's an unpleasant command that doesn't offer a better alternative. They aren't being spiteful or disobedient, they are just being a cat. Which is to say, they're a very smart, very logical, and very self-interested roommate. And the key to living with any roommate isn't giving commands, it's negotiation. So what's your next negotiation gonna look like?